And welcome into Growth Profits. It's Friday. That can mean only one thing. It is time for the show that is all about you having happier clients, better results, making more money, and of course, enjoying the ride. Stay with us because when we come back, we're going to talk about one of the most important conversations that came across our desks this week. What is the number one best outsource for dormant clients? Stay with us. Hi, folks. I'm Sean Crabtree.
And I'm Cameron Bailey.
We don't want to change the way you do business.
We want to change the way you're thinking about your business.
We want you to have better results, happier clients, and make more money.
Let's get it started.
So welcome in. As you guys notice, we got Old Glory in the background here.
Because it's America.
Sporting the colors.
Land of the free and the home of the brave.
Home of the brave. That's right.
America, you can be and do anything you want to do. Achieve anything you want to achieve.
All you got to do is believe.
Today we're going to talk about why in the world.
Well, now wait a minute. So lay a little background here. This came before us. Okay, the question was, what is the number one best outsource company when it comes to dormant clients? Now, we probably should, lay the foundation a little bit in terms of, we talk about dormant clients. We're talking about clients that have not bought from you in a while. So regardless of what service business that you're in, if you are a dentist, then you're talking about patients who have not been in for preventative maintenance in a while. You're talking about patients who
you've
diagnosed something.
You've had a presentation to this client, but they did not purchase and you haven't heard from them.
So their situation is getting worse.
So they're dormant.
Or if you're talking about if you're an HVAC company, then you got a client who's laying out there, they're dormant, they're off the radar. Regardless of what business you're in, you've got clients that are not active. They're not in active
I've got a good one. If you're selling,
status.
If you're out there and you're selling real estate, and maybe you pitched a potential
pitch.
No, like pitch.
Oh, okay.
Like pitch that thing.
Pitch as in sell.
If you're a real estate agent, you're pitching a particular house to an interested party, an interested buyer, and you haven't heard from them, then they could be dormant. Mm-hmm. What are we gonna do to warm them up? We got to spice them up, get them back in the door.
So the question is,
get them back on the phone, follow up, follow through.
So the question
all of those things.
Who is the best? What is the best company when it comes to reinstating into active status dormant clients? I think in order to really answer that, and we're going to give you our answer to that, but I think in order to answer that, we've already, number one, defined what a dormant client is. Now here's the next thing. Why is it in the world is this important to you? Because many of you are talking with companies that specialize in reinstating your dormant clients back into active status. There are companies out there that pride themselves on these kinds of things. And so it's important to you because you need to know what it is that you're looking for when it comes to this conversation.
Right.
Now, before we answer the question, let's dive into what are some things that you and I hear. The question is, what is the number one best outsourcing company for reinstating dormant clients? I think probably what we have to analyze is, what are the things that you and I hear when it comes to
the number one thing I hear
why all the time. Would you outsource? Why? In other words, if I'm a company, I'm listening to this, is that something that I would outsource? What are the things that you hear? Why would I use a third party company to outsource that kind of situation?
The number one thing I hear all the time is, I don't have time to talk to these patients. I don't have time to get these patients back in the door.
Watching that clock. Okay, let's write that down. I don't
have time, Sean, to engage these patients to get them back in the door, man. I'm just barely keeping my head above water, dude. Mm-hmm. I got 100 different things going on. The phone's ringing. I've got patients in the chair. I've got, financial arrangements I've got going on. I got all these things, man. When am I going to have the time to call Joe Habersnatch and try to get him back into my dental practice? When am I going to have the time to do that? Joe Habersnatch is not at the top of my list of things to do today. That's the number one thing I hear all the time. Mr. Habersnatch.
So what you're saying is, we got so many other things to do. Call him Mr. Habersnatch.
Habersnatch.
Joe Habersnatch. Call him Mr. Here's Joe.
Uncle
Calling
Joe.
Joe is not a priority.
I don't have time to call Joe, man.
All right.
I got other stuff going on.
Okay. What else?
Well, I mean, I've got a couple. What do you have?
I got a couple too. I think the number one thing that we hear is and it kind of goes with number one, although it's not time. It is, you know what? It's not the most comfortable thing to do, and there are so many other things that I feel like we're good at. So it's not very comfortable. I'd rather put my energy and my effort into the things that we are really good at, which is dealing with our, the phones ringing, and we're dealing with, the people that are in front of us and all of that sort of thing. And so the other stuff is kind of not a comfortable thing to do. That's what I hear.
I hear that too. So
yeah,
it's just not natural for me, I mean,
we're talking about.
I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to have to call, Joe. I don't want to call Joe and have to feel like I'm pushing him into something.
Mr. Habersnatch.
Mr. Habersnatch. It's uncomfortable for me to call Joe Habersnatch. It doesn't feel natural.
Where do you even come up with this stuff, man?
Joe Habersnatch.
Habersnatch.
He's probably a real guy. Google him, Mr. Producer.
Mr. Producer, don't listen.
Find
Don't
Joe
waste any
Habersnatch
time
on Facebook and see if we can be friends.
No, I'm actually curious.
So here's what we're talking about. The question that came before us is, what is the number one best outsource to reinstate dormant clients? Now, so to analyze this, we're walking through what are the things that we hear about why somebody would choose an outsource. Why would somebody choose a third party? The number one thing that we hear is because they don't have time. Number two is because it's not the most comfortable thing in the world, and so therefore they put their energy and their effort into what's in front of them. What's something else you hear?
I don't know what to say.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know what to say, Sean. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to create value for it. I don't know what to say.
We hear a lot of time.
So what am I going to, if I get the guts
to make the call.
If I get the guts to make the call, number one, all right, so let's
look, we're off center, man.
Let's roll through this real quick.
Up.
If I, number one, find the time to make the call.
Right.
And I reach deep down in my guts.
And I get
guts. And I get comfortable with making the call.
Right.
The third thing is, what the hell am I going to say?
Right. And so we hear this a lot because the thing we hear most is, you know what? We don't have any training on all of that. And honestly, we're not really good at it anyway. So why spend any time on the training part of it? Because at the end of the day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, we don't have time to do it anyway. And so, again, all three of these things are very, very closely related. Now, I think the reason it's important that we go into this conversation is we're talking about
why would you outsource it? So
why would you outsource?
Why do people outsource?
And that's the basis, of course, for the question. The question is that came before us is, what is the number one best outsource to reinstate dormant clients? Well, to be able to even ask that question, you got to be living in one of these three things. Why would I even outsource? Because I don't have time, because I'm not comfortable doing it, and so I'd rather put my energy into the other stuff. Or the number three thing that we hear most often is, I have no idea what to say.
There might be like a number 1A.
Yeah, what would you say?
So I don't have time is broad, but the one thing I think could be said too is that I don't see value in spending my time.
Which is really the same thing.
Yeah, it's really the same thing.
Now, but that's a good way to put it, because that's
it's not that I don't have time. It's that a lot of these companies that's one of their things that they're pitching is your time is probably more valuable spent somewhere else.
Right.
That's true.
And so the question before us is, what is the number one best outsource to reinstate my clients that are dormant back into active status? And to be able to even ask that question, you're probably living in one of these three places. I or we don't have time to do it. It's not comfortable. I'd rather put my energy into something that I'm comfortable with. And number three, I don't know what to say anyway. Right?
I don't know what to say to the guy. Yeah.
And so
Joe.
Here's the thing. Are we going to give our opinion on this, or are we going to wait for just a second on that?
I'll tell you what. Here's what we'll do. When we come back, after these brief messages, we're going to talk about how you can get Joe Habersnatch back into your practice, back into your business.
And what is the actual best outsource? Stay with us. Yes, a 98% acceptance rate or better is possible. Yes, you can do it. And yes, it's not as difficult as you think, and I can show you how. I've created a course specifically to cover these topics. It's called the Dental Profits Academy. New patients, existing patients, dormant patients, exactly what to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and how to do it, and what role everybody on your team plays. Intake calls, chairside, financial arrangements, reinstatement calls. It's all there, step by step. It's online, and you can learn it at your leisure. Go to thecrabtreegroup.com and click course for more information. The question before us that we are answering is, what is the best outsource for reinstating my dormant clients back into active status? Now, we've talked about why this is important. We've talked about what it is. When we think about a dormant client, we're thinking about somebody who has fallen off of your immediate radar, right? They bought something, they've gotten their diagnosis complete or whatever, and they haven't been back to see you.
Went cold. They went cold.
They've gone cold, right? They've gone off the grid. And so your opportunity is obviously to reinstate them back into active status. And the question is, what is the best company to choose to be able to outsource that reinstatement to? And we talked about for somebody to be able to even ask that question, they're thinking in one of three ways. Number one, I don't have really time to do this myself.
Yeah. Or my time is not or my time is listen, my time is so much better spent on something else.
Right.
You know.
Or number two,
you know what I could be doing? I could be following up on insurance claims right now.
Right.
Do you know how behind we are on insurance?
Right.
I could be following up on insurance.
Right. That's more fun anyway.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Good grief. Or number two, you know what? It's not the most comfortable thing in the world, so I'd rather put my time into things that I feel more comfortable at. Or number three, I don't know what to say anyway. Now, let's analyze this. Our belief, what do we think on outsourcing? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Outsourcing. Ask a different question. Instead of asking yourself, what's the best company to outsource to for reinstating my clients back into active status, ask a different question. That question is, why in the world do I need to reinstate these clients anyway? And why in the world is that something that I would outsource? Now, we talked about three reasons why most people would consider outsourcing. Let's walk through some of those. Number one thing is we don't have time. Now, at the break, we just did a little commercial there for a course that we have that's all about creating value. I love that course. I'm not going to talk about the course, but I want you to see that course is all about you having the ability to create value for your team, value for your time, value for your services. That, at the end of the day, is what's going to prevent somebody from having to be in a reactivated status anyway. Okay.
So what you're saying is plug the drain, number one. Plug the drain.
Well, I'm saying for a client to be off the grid, that means
we didn't create value.
We didn't create value. Now, let's go to the next step. The question that was asked is, what's the number one best company to outsource? I would say throw the question out the window and go, let's analyze why is it that we're having to reinstate someone anyway? And I think if you get to the basis of that, then the question would become, you would never outsource. The question is a better question. How is it we can make this a priority? So think about this for a second. If you have a client that's fallen off the radar and they've gone dormant and you need to reinstate them, then you already know why. Because they don't see what?
Value.
They don't see value. So here's the question. If you're going to implement a third-party company, okay, somebody that's going to come in between you, who knows your services very well, and your client, if you're going to put a third party in the middle of that, and you have a patient out there who doesn't see value, if we understand that the reason they're dormant anyway, is because they don't see value, then ask yourself, is a robocall, is a third-party text, one-way email, whatever, even a voicemail, right? are these kind of things going to
One-way
have
communication.
your patient? Right.
Yeah.
If you outsource that, are you going to have, is that outsourcing, whatever it is they do in whatever way that they do it, is that going to have your client who has gone dormant, are they going to receive that information, whether it's a text or an email or a phone call or whatever, are they going to receive that and go, holy mackerel, I didn't see value. But after this,
I see the light.
I see the light.
Joe Habersnatch will be in the door. Yes. Joe Habersnatch gets a text. He's coming in, baby.
He's like, man, I didn't see value to begin with, but now,
man,
I've received this text. Holy smoke.
Man.
I got to drop what I'm doing, and I got to go see these people. It doesn't work that way, right? So put yourself in the client's shoes. If they didn't see value in probably a third-party company, and I would submit, no matter what service industry you're talking about here, a third party, number one, is not going to be able to be you. They're not going to ever, in any circumstances, be able to be you.
They're not going to have the relationship that you have.
And they're not going to be able to create value. So if I understand that the reason I have a client who's gone dormant is because they don't see value, then why in the world would you third party that anyway? Now let's look at the other things. We talked about the reason you're considering outsourcing is because we don't have time, it's uncomfortable, don't know what to say. Let's talk about those things. You don't have time. Several years ago, I was speaking at a dental convention. There were several thousand people in the room. It was called the Chicago Midwinter, and
It's in Chicago.
it's in Chicago.
In the winter.
And I did the presentation on milking your own cows because I wanted to bring a little Tennessee
That's right.
to Chicago,
A little American flavor.
little Tennessee to Chicago. And so I had some cool pictures of the Holstein cows. Remember, with the big old nose and everything.
Yeah. I prefer Herefords.
But it's good.
Herefords.
There you go. Hereford, Angus.
I like Herefords. The brown ones.
The brown ones.
Herefords are the brown ones for the people that don't know.
Herefords can also be black.
Every one I've seen is brown.
No, they can be black and white faced, and I know my cows.
I could be wrong.
So you guys can support me on that. But anyway, I did this presentation on milking your own cows because that's the way we look at it, right? Why in the world would you go spend marketing dollars and time and energy and effort to go steal cows from somebody else's barn when you've got a list of cows that are inside your barn that are not in active status? They're not cows that you're milking already.
Yeah.
And that's the gist of it at the end of the day. So number one, we don't have time. I would submit you don't have time not to make this a priority. Whatever that client is, they have some kind of relationship with you. However that looks, however small or big or whatever it is, they've got some kind of relationship with you. And any kind of relationship is better than no relationship at all.
Not only that,
and
but
yet
you've
if
already...
you're not spending time on this, then you're going to spend dollars and energy and effort marketing, trying to get cows from somebody else's barn. It doesn't make any sense. Put the time on what you got right in front of you before you go doing the other thing.
Here's the thing. We mentioned that,
What's
number
the
one,
thing?
you got to plug the hole, right? So you got to learn to create value. So when that patient's or that client's in front of you, you're able to create value and you're able to wrap it up right there. So
Then you don't have to reinstate it.
then you don't have to reinstate anyway. But if we have to reinstate, we didn't create value. There's something we can learn. If we have to reinstate, you got to remember, this client already knows that they have a problem. You don't have to convince them that they have a problem. They already know. You've already got a relationship with them.
On some level.
On some level. They know who you are. They know who you are. It's not like it's cold. It's not cold. This would be like a warm reinstatement, really. I mean, you're not calling somebody out of the blue and say, "Hey, you want to get a crown?"
Well, that's true.
You know.
So the time thing is hopefully debunked because at the end of the day, you don't have time not to focus on this. These are relationships, as Cameron said, on some level that you already have. If you don't maximize those and put the time and the energy in yourself to go after those, then all you got left is marketing for somebody else's cows, and they're in somebody else's barn. The second thing we mentioned, it's uncomfortable. Okay, you know what? Here's what I would say to that. I understand that it's uncomfortable, but I would say that the thing that this is what I've learned over the last 21 years. The thing that's making it uncomfortable for you is that you're not focusing on the client or the patient. You're focusing on yourself.
Yeah.
And so whether it's making a call or however it is that you're reaching out to the patient, you're putting the focus on, I'm doing this for me, and you're not doing this for you. You're doing this because you've got services that you offer that this person needs, and you know they need it because they've already been in to see you, and you are calling not for you, you're calling for them. If you're talking about a dental office,
you have a solution to their problem.
Right. If you're talking about a dental office, you're talking about a treatment plan, you're talking about a diagnosis, you're talking about something that this patient needs. If you're talking about an HVAC company or whatever business it is that you're in, they have reached out to you for some reason in the past. There's something that they need. And unless you think that somebody else has got something that's better than yours, then I would submit you're not reaching out for you. You're reaching out for them. So change your focus. That's what's having it be uncomfortable. You think you're reaching out for yourself, and you're not. You're reaching out for them. You agree with me on that?
Oh, yes, totally.
Okay.
I think that you got to change your mindset. Whatever you think right here is going to control how hard you're going to go after something, right? And if I'm thinking I'm bothering them, I don't want to call them because I'm bothering them, or they already.
Some
told,
people think they themselves like a telemarketer.
Yeah, I don't want to be a pest.
I can never call somebody at this time or that time or whatever time.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Again, that's your focus.
No,
on
my
you.
focus. If you're making these calls or if you're reaching out to a client or a patient, your focus is on they have a problem. I've got to solve it. I have the solution. My goal is to serve them at the highest level. In order for me to serve them at the highest level, I got to talk to them because I care about them. It's heartfelt. It's truth. That's the focus.
Truth.
America.
You can't handle the truth.
Nah. What about number 3?
All right, so where we are is this. The question before us is, what is the best company to outsource reinstating patients back or clients back into active status? Now, we've talked about why this is important. We've talked about, in order to be able to even ask that question, why, what's the best company for me to outsource? To even ask that question, I'm probably living in one of these 3 places. Number 1, I don't have enough time to do it. Hopefully, in the conversation we just had, you see that you don't have time not to do it.
Priority.
Yes. Number 2, you're uncomfortable. Switch your focus. You're not reaching out to them for you. You're reaching out to them for them.
Yes.
The number 3 thing that you're probably,
I hear that all the time.
Yeah, the number 3 thing you're probably listening is, well, I don't know what to say. And I know what you're thinking. Yeah, all that sounds good. Sean, you convinced me that I need to make it a priority. And you know what? I'll put my focus on them. It'll take a little practice, but I'll do it. I'll put my focus on them, and I'm not going to be calling for me. Now, what do I say? You know what? Reduce it to its simplest form. You already understand that the reason that you're calling to begin with is because they don't see what? Value. So I've got to have a 2-way conversation. I'm not going to be able to send a text. I'm not going to be able to send a phone call. Those are great for reminders, right?
They're adjunct. I mean,
they're additions too.
Here's the thing. I don't want people listening to this to think, oh, man, Sean and Cameron are dogging on all these other people. Listen, we're not dogging on anybody. Those companies are great. And
I don't even know what that means.
Dogging, man, just knocking them down. No, that's not. Listen, our clients use these products.
I'd be dogging on Mr.
Hammersnatch, John, Jay Hammersnatch. So listen, our clients use these products. We love these products, okay? But they're working great as an adjunct. Is that the right word?
Mm-hmm.
As an addition, right? You can't rely solely on this one-way communication. That's guys, that's the oldest influence in the world. One-way communication, you're not going to be able to.
What is a one-way communication?
A one-way communication is when I email.
It's a sign.
A text.
It could be a sign on the front desk. That's a one-way communication.
Yeah. Payment is due at time of service. Did you see the sign?
Here's the way I look at a one-way communication. It's any communication that all of the interpretation is left up to the person who's reading it.
Right.
So it's an email. That's a one-way communication. It's a text. That's a one-way communication. Right? It's a voicemail. That's a one-way communication. Now, voicemail is better than
a text just because you got tone of voice.
Yeah, tone. But it's still a one-way communication because there's no response. There's no conversation that can be had with it. And if you think about it this way, You can't create value without being able to ask questions. There's no way. And you already know that the patient or the client doesn't see value, or you wouldn't be calling them anyway.
Right.
Right?
Right.
If they saw value, they'd be here.
You have to overcome.
So you have to
overcome their objection.
And the only way you can do that is by asking questions. So number 3, I don't know what to say. Here's what you do. Okay? Here's what you do.
You're going to write this down. This one's going to be worth the money right here. We're 24 minutes into this, and now we're getting to the goodies. So go ahead and drop it.
It's worth the money. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
The donation box is at the Crabtree Group if you guys want to send it.
So you call Mr. Hammersnatch.
John. What do you say to John? You want me to be John? You want to call me?
I think you said Hammersnatch.
Hammersnatch.
Hammersnatch. What does that even mean?
Hammersnatch. Jay Hammersnatch, man.
So if you're calling John Hammersnatch, okay, here, let's get clear on what your goals are, and then we'll talk about it. Number 1, you know that you're going to have to interact with John. You're not going to be able to call and tell him something.
No.
And then you're not going to be able to say, would you like to come see us?
Telling ain't
selling. Because the answer is, if I would like to come see you, I would have already come to see you. So the answer is no, but thanks for calling. I'll call you back. Right?
Hey, John, just want to let you know, see if you wanted to schedule that crown.
Right.
No, I'm good. I'll call you when I'm ready.
So what to say and what to do. Here's what you're trying to accomplish. Pick up the phone and call Mr. Hammersnatch.
Come on. Lock it up.
Go. Call Mr. Hammersnatch. Call Mr. Hammersnatch. And you want to ask him some questions and get him to tell you the reason why. Now, let me say it differently.
The excuse.
You already know the reason why.
He's not going to say,
he doesn't see value.
Hey, John Hammersnatch, why didn't you schedule your crown? I didn't see value. He's not going to say that, okay? He's going to give you an excuse. An excuse is going to be one of what? 3 things, right?
I didn't have any money, I didn't have any time, or I don't see a real reason to come in right now. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So you already know that that's going to be your answers. What you're trying to figure out is which one of those is he going to use. And because you already know that it's going to be one of those answers, don't have money, don't have time, or I don't see a real reason at this moment. If it's a patient, it may be nothing hurts, right? If it's an HVAC, everything's working fine. Bottom line is it's going to be one of those 3 things. No money, no time, no real reason to come see you right now. Because I know it's one of those 3 things, I'm going to already have worked out in my mind a real life scenario where I can use feel, felt, found.
If you're listening to this, if you don't take anything away from this, the one thing you should take away is to write that down. Feel, felt, found.
Now, you can't brush over feel, felt, found. It's got to be a real life scenario. And if you've been in business for any length of time, you have had a scenario where you talked to a client in the past, right? And they felt that they didn't have any money, or they didn't have any time, or they didn't have any need, right?
Or nothing hurt. No pain.
It
don't hurt, man.
Right. So you talked to this patient, they were feeling the same way, they felt the same way. And what they found was, because they waited, they didn't get the preventative maintenance done, whatever it was, it cost more, it took twice as long, all of that, and then you can schedule. So what you have to do is, you already know it's going to be one of those 3 things. I understand, what was it? I don't have nothing. I don't have any time. I don't have any money, or I don't have any reason to come see you right now. You already know. However they verbalize the excuse, it's going to be in one of those 3 things. And what you have to do is already have a preloaded scenario that's kind of just like Mr. Hammersnatch's situation.
Joe.
John Hammersnatch. Keep the
John.
I can't even see. I get lost because we can't even keep the thing. So let's keep our analogy tight. So I know that John is going to tell me one of those 3 things. In a story, in whatever, it's going to be one of those 3 things. And I've already got a situation because I've already experienced it. And if you don't have a situation, go to one of your team members or somebody who's been in this business longer than you. They will have plenty of situations for nothing, no money, no time, or don't have a reason to come and see you right now, and have those things preloaded in the front end so you're ready to go. Now, when you make the call, here's the thing. You don't want to do like Cameron said a while ago. Let's talk about John Hammersnatch. I don't want to pick up the phone and say, Mr. Hammersnatch, this is Sean. I'm calling from Bailey HVAC. Do you want to skip? I don't want to ask a do you, did you, are you, will you, won't you, would you, could you, should you kind of question. I don't want to ask a close-ended kind of question, because the answer is going to be no. It may be polite. Thanks for calling, but no.
Do you want us to come out and take a look at your air conditioner? No.
Don't call me back. I'll call you. That's the answer. No. So I don't want to ask a do you, did you,
Is there anything wrong? No.
That's an is you, right? Is you, are you, will you, would you, won't you, could you, should you, have you. No close-ended questions.
We should make a song about that.
I want to ask an open-ended question, right? And an open-ended question can be a what or a how, or it could be just in the form of an open-ended, no end to the question. So I could say, John Hammersnatch, right?
John.
I'm going to say, John, this is Sean. I'm calling from Bailey HVAC. How in the world are you? And he's going to say, wake up and go, who's this? This is Sean. I'm calling from Bailey HVAC. Mr. Hammersnatch, we haven't seen you. Mr. Hammersnatch, we have not seen you in 24 months. You had called us because you had this condition going on. We haven't heard from you, and everybody's concerned. Stop. That is an open-ended question.
Yeah.
What you're trying to do right out of the chute
Get to the
excuse. Now, you already know that the reason is they're not seeing value. But you want to know what the excuse is that Mr. Hammersnatch is using. And it's going to be no money, no time, or don't have a reason to see you at this moment. So you want to have an already laid out feel, felt, found scenario. Is that too complex for a podcast?
Nah, man.
Did we go too deep?
Long story short, the faster you get to the excuse, the faster.
Mr. Producer, did we go too deep with that?
I thought it was valuable. That's valuable stuff. So again, the suggestion box and the donation box, more importantly, is at the Crabtree Group. If this is good stuff for you and you'd like to send in a little thank you. So
if you have questions or concerns about the specifics of this, reach out to us. We'd love to be able to help you out. But here's the reason, the subject matter for this is, what is the best third-party company out there to outsource reinstating my dormant clients or my dormant patients? Guys, throw the question out the window and instead realize that when you are in a position to reinstate a patient who is dormant back into active status, it's because they don't see value. So what are the chances that a third party is going to be able to create that value? The answer is no. So when it comes to outsourcing for reinstatement, thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs down. Don't even go there. Don't even go there. We talked about...
Don't go there solely. If you want to use them as a additive.
For reminders and things like that.
Patient communication, it's great. Patient patient retention as far as like confirmations, like it's kind of valuable.
There's no third-party company out there that's going to be able to create value for your services
the way that
you can. So the central takeaway is, don't even ask that question. Yeah. What's the best third-party outsource for reinstating active clients? There is none. Throw it out the window.
Come up with a plan
and
that
figure
fits
out
you.
Remember the three things that we talked about, right? If you don't think you have time, realize you don't have time not to focus on this. Because if you don't, you're going to end up spending all your time and energy trying to create cows from other people's barn when you got ones in yours that you're not milking. Number two, it's uncomfortable. Put your focus off of you and on the person you're trying to help. It's about them. It's not about you. That's going to help you feel comfortable. And then how to do it, right? Right out of the chute, ask an open-ended question and get to the excuse and use feel, felt, found. And that's the way you do it. So the central takeaway, don't even outsource. Make it a priority for you. And that's what's going to have you be successful. And that's what it is that we want for you. You want to close it up?
John Hammersnatch. Follow me on Facebook.
We talk about these things all the time. We come to you every Friday with this podcast, either an interview or us, doing our thing specifically for you to have happier clients, better results, make more money, and enjoy the ride. And that's the only reason we do this. I hope you enjoy this content. If you do, please share it. Give us some comments, give us some thumbs up, give us some hearts, give us some love. We like all those things.
If you got any questions, guys, seriously, if you got any questions about verbiage or about, if you're a business owner out there listening to this podcast and you're like, dude, that sounds great, but how do I get my team engaged in kind of getting into reactivating dormant patients, and you got some questions,
reach out to us.
Give us a call, man.
We're very happy to help.
We'll be happy to talk to you. We'll help any way we can.
For Growth Profits, I'm Sean Crabtree and my partner Cameron Bailey. Hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.